Video after video of historic anti-zero COVID protests in China broadcast on the world's television screens, everywhere but inside China, where authorities censored all evidence of the protests. So how did these images manage to get beyond China's controlled internet? Newsrooms around the world, including CNN, have been relying on information from this Twitter account. And there's only one man behind it, Li, a Chinese painter in Italy, whose identity we're hiding for security reasons.
This account may become a symbol that Chinese people are still pursuing freedom of speech. When you post something within China, it will quickly disappear. This account can document all these historical events that cannot be saved inside the country.
His account quickly turned into one of the world's key sources for protest information. Li says he received thousands of submissions per day as the demonstrations unfolded. Apps like Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram are banned in China, but people used virtual private networks, or VPNs, which are prohibited in China, to access Twitter and send their videos to Li. What's the motivation behind all the work you do?
It's to let people inside of China climb out of the Great Firewall to see what's happening at this very moment.
But that's exactly what authorities want to prevent. Here's what happens if you search for information about any of the protests on Chinese social media. You get a notice that says, "Sorry, no relevant results are found." Meanwhile, on Li's Twitter account, he was rapidly uploading videos of demonstrations across China, from Urumqi, Nanjing, Chengdu, to Shanghai, where protesters chanted for Xi Jinping to step down, calling for freedom and an end to zero COVID. And researchers say the Chinese government is even trying to bury information about the protests from social media users abroad. Search on Twitter in Chinese characters for cities that had protests, and you get this, a flood of spam and porn advertisements. The spam campaign, researchers say, appears to be the work of Chinese authorities. Twitter did not respond to a request for comment. Are you worried about your own safety?
Of course I'm very worried. I get a lot of anonymous harassment saying, "I know who you are, where you live, and I will kill you."
His parents frequently call him in fear, he says, and the Chinese authorities have been harassing them too, making midnight visits to their home in China. What price do you think you have to pay for the work that you do?
This account is more important than my life. I will not shut it down. I've arranged for someone else to take over if something bad happens to me. I'm mentally prepared, even if authorities won't let me see my parents again.
Authorities in China try to keep the country in a parallel universe, but Li is playing a pivotal role in breaking that bubble. Li spends hours a day on the account, only taking breaks to feed his cat, and barely slept during the peak of protests, as he sorted and verified the endless stream of video submissions, each one urgent and historic. He's doing the work that he hopes one day Chinese journalists and Chinese citizens from within China will be able to do without fear. And Aaron, even though those protests in China have been snuffed out by authorities, Li told me that every day he's still going through hundreds of submissions and spending 6 to 7 hours on that account. He told me that he started using Twitter just as a personal outlet because all of his accounts on Chinese social media kept on getting banned, and he never expected to become so influential. But as people in China try to find ways to get around censorship, authorities, they're cracking down even harder. The government recently announced that internet users in China could be punished even for just liking posts that authorities consider illegal or harmful, Aaron.
That's really amazing. Selena, thank you very much.